Hold on, guys. I'm getting a radio broadcast. That's the governor of the state talking about an emergency right now. Really not. I want you to imagine just for a minute that there's a widespread blackout. The cell towers are down, the TVs are down, the internet's down, your phone is down. How are you going to communicate? This is the iRonthunder radio that I picked up on Amazon for $24.99, and we're going to come in and take a real close look at this in just a minute. But I think a portable radio, an emergency radio with a solar panel, with a light, with flashlights, with a hand crank, I think this is the most important piece of emergency equipment you can have in your go bag. This channel is called Outdoor Prepper, and obviously we prep all the time for different emergencies, and we all have go bags and different supplies. But I think the radio really truly is absolutely the most important critical piece of equipment that you can have in the go bag, more so than cash, IDs, money, whatever it is. The radio is probably the most important. Let's take a real close look at this radio, and then we're going to come back here and talk even more importantly about why this is just so critical. Okay guys, we are up close and personal with the iRonthunder emergency radio, and this is honestly, I think, one of the better emergency radios that at least I have personally owned and that I have found online. I picked this up on Amazon. It was just $24.99, and I'm going to post a link to it. But it's got a lot of cool features that I really think are important in an emergency radio. Now, when you go on Amazon, there's like 800 different emergency radios on there, and they all look relatively similar. This one looked a little bit different, and that is why I picked this up. I don't like the ones on Amazon that have like folding solar panels. They look really cheap and chintzy, like they're just going to fall apart. This unit, I actually really like the design, and there's one main feature that I love, and that is this light right here. All these emergency radios, they have flashlights in the front, and I am not a big believer in using a flashlight on an emergency radio, although this one was very pleasantly surprising. But what I really like is this light. This is like a reading light and a map light. So let's just go over the specs on this real quick, and I'm going to show you kind of how this works, and then we're going to go back into why this literally is probably the most important piece of emergency equipment you can have in your go bag. So this is an AM/FM radio, and it's got the NOAA weather band. It's got a hand crank on the back. It's got a solar panel on the front. So what I do is I leave this on my windowsill kind of at all times, so it's always charging and it's always charged. It's got the flashlight, which basically has a spot and a flood, and then it's got the map light. It also doubles as a battery bank, so you can use this to charge your phone. This has an internal battery that the solar panel or the crank charges, and you can also put supplemental batteries in it. So let's just go over the operation real quick. Let me pull this in closer so you can kind of get a good look here. Right here, this is your power button. Just press it to turn it on. This is an SOS button. Basically sounds a siren. You can tune up or down with these buttons, volume up or down with these buttons. NOAA weather radio. I have that on alert. Let's get off alert. I think mine is 162.55 megahertz. And it would help if I extended the antenna. Let's talk about the best feature here. Let me just turn this off.
In an interview with NBC last night, he says the process has been going very well, very smooth.
There you go. And this shows you right here in the blue lights the charge on the battery, so it's fully charged. Now, I thought this was going to be like any other cheap radio with the flashlight. This light is blinding. Let's see if you can just see it on the back wall here. So this is the spotlight, and the center one is illuminated. If you hit it again, it turns to the floodlight, and it's the upper and the lower. And then if you hit it again, it's all three. This video image is not doing it justice. This light is literally blinding. I was blown away by how bright it was. And again, I do not buy emergency radios for the flashlight feature, but you could absolutely illuminate a whole room with that. But what I did buy this for is this light right here. And this is kind of the map light, the reading light. It's a warm glow. It's a really bright light. And I think what I would do in an emergency is I would probably try to conserve my battery power on my flashlights, on my power stations. And if I have the radio on, I'm just going to put this light on. It draws next to no wattage, and it really will warmly illuminate the whole room so that you can see what you're doing. Then if we turn it around on the back side, this is the crank. This is where you would put the batteries. There are no batteries in here because I'm running off the internal pack, but it takes 3. This says AAA, but these look like AA. I think that's a misprint. I could be wrong though, but it looks like a AA. But it takes 3 batteries. And then the crank, you would just crank this, and as you're cranking it, you can see on the front, but I'm cranking it slowly right here, it's going to illuminate red. If you can kind of see that. And that shows that you are generating power to charge it. Over here on the side, if you want to charge the internal battery pack, you would use a USB Type-C, and that's on the top here where it says DC in. Where it says USB out, again, it's a little hard to see, this is a USB-A. That would allow you to use this as a power bank to charge your phone, and then you have a headphone jack as well. This has a nice little waterproof cover, and it also has a nice little strap here so you can kind of hold the radio when you're carrying it. So guys, this is honestly, in my personal opinion, and I've owned and continue to own a ton of emergency radios, I like this the best. I picked this up because the price was decent, and I liked that the solar panel was not that cheap folding one that most of them have on Amazon, but I am going to pick up a few more of these. Let's go back to the table, and I want to talk more about why this, and really any emergency radio, is absolutely critical in your go bag. And just real fast, I was incorrect. This says AAA, and it actually is a AAA. This is a AA, and they do not fit. So radio is correct. My quick visual impression was incorrect. 3 AAA batteries if you want to put standard batteries in the radio. Okay, so now that you've seen the radio up close and kind of how it works, I think we need to talk about some very important key points in why a portable emergency radio such as this is so critical. I want you to think for a minute, when disaster strikes, if it's a hurricane, a blackout, a national emergency, communication is absolutely your lifeline. An emergency radio is often the only way that you're going to get updates. If you can't turn the TV on because you have no power, or maybe you do have power, you've got a generator, but the line to the TV is down, the internet is down, you have a voice over IP connection, your phone is down, whatever it is, a portable radio is literally all you've got. And the radio is going to be so important, not just for news like, oh, the road is flooded, use this way, use that way. Governments use radios for emergency broadcasts. So the radio might be the way for you to find out when the power is coming back on, what road is flooded that you maybe were planning on using, where is a tree down, where is there civil unrest. I think it's really, people take for granted the type of information that is available. Let me just give you some different scenarios and why emergency information is so critical via a radio. What about a flood? You can get flash flood warnings. You can get evacuation orders. You can get road closures and detours. You might even be able to get shelter locations. Everybody's like, oh, I'll get an email, I'll get a text message. That's assuming that the cell tower is up. Depending on the emergency, it's probably going to be down, or it's going to be completely overloaded. So this radio is actually a much, much better hedge against these problems. What about a power outage? The grid goes down. You might hear from the government or officials on the radio, what time will power be restored? What's the status? Boil water advisories, fuel availabilities. Maybe there's a hurricane or a tropical storm coming your way, and the radio is going to give you, especially because this has the NOAA weather band, storm path updates, tornado warnings, evacuation timings. There could be curfews or travel bans. It could be another type of weather emergency, a snowstorm. You can hear blizzard warnings, whiteout conditions, power lines, tree damage alerts, heating center locations. So many people freeze to death in the winter because they don't have power. Look at what happened in Texas several years ago. This can give you locations to heating centers. It can give you, during civil unrest, where are there unsafe zones where maybe you want to stay away from there? Police might transmit orders, over the radio. It can tell you about transit shutdowns. You will definitely get emergency broadcasts. What about wildfires? You're fleeing from a wildfire. You certainly don't have time to turn on your TV and hang out with the TV, But you can take this and have it on, have it, broadcasting in your car, or if you're on foot or on a bike, however you're getting out of there. This can give you wind direction and fire paths. It can give you air quality warnings. If there's a terrorist attack, you can hear about, shelter in place orders, hazmat, chemical spills, contaminated water warnings. There's just the amount of information that you can get off of a radio is so critical. Now, yes, there's ham radios as well, but you need a license for a ham radio. You need to be trained. You need to have the proper radio equipment. A radio like this portable iRonthunder radio is $25. Anybody can own it. A 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a high schooler can own it. You can keep it in your bag. You can keep it in your car. Keep it in a desk drawer. What I like to do, like I said earlier, is I like to keep this on the windowsill because of the solar panel. I know it is always charging and it is always fully charged. And then obviously if it does die, what I can do is I can use the hand crank and I can just start to crank it and generate enough power to actually use it for a little while. I can also charge my cell phone with it. I can also use the flashlights. It also takes AAA batteries. There's just so much redundancy. And again, it has a ridiculously bright flashlight, which I was just blown away. And it has the map light, which I really like. Guys, ask a lot of questions because nothing I say is set in stone. But I'm telling you, from my experience, from having lived through many multiple emergencies, and I commute to New York City every day, so you can only imagine what goes on in New York City. But a radio is literally one of, if not the most important item you can have, because it's a source of information at a moment's notice, regardless of whether or not the power grid is up, regardless of the cell phones, towers, the internet. It makes no difference. This is totally self-sustainable and self-sufficient with the solar panel, the hand crank, and the batteries. Thanks for watching. Leave questions. I will answer all questions as I always do, and I'll see you on the next one. And do me a favor, I always forget this. Like and subscribe if you found this helpful.